The calendar function in Maximizer has been designed to be intuitive and easy to use, but there's a lot to cover, so fasten your seatbelt and here we go. Appointments can of course be scheduled from the calendar, but they can also be scheduled from the customer service window, from opportunities, and from the address book window. In each case, you highlight an entry, right-click your mouse, and then Schedule a Meeting. Alternatively, you can use the Actions drop-down menu, again, to schedule a meeting, or if you prefer, you can use the Activities tab following window for an entry, and over here you can click to schedule an appointment. In all three cases, this is the dialog box that we get to work with. I am logged in as Lou Jones, and I am designated as the organizer for this particular appointment. The attendee for the appointment is Jerry Monk from Monk Enterprises, because that was the entry I was highlighting over here when I created this appointment. Because of the way I set my preferences previously, other users will be notified of this appointment, and attendees will receive an email reminder. If there were other people that I wanted to invite to this appointment, I could come to this little dialog box here and type in somebody's name, like Melanie Chen. Click on her, and you notice she's now added to this appointment. Let me click on Joe, because Joe Napoli is one of the other users in the office, and now I have invited him as well to this appointment. After talking with Joe, we realize he does not really need to attend this appointment, so I can remove him simply by clicking the X. When I first opened this dialog box, Maximizer assumed that I wanted to make this appointment today on the 17th of October at 10 a.m., but in point of fact, I'd like to do this on the 19th, and I'd like to have the time for this as 9 a.m. It'll end on the 19th, but I want this to go for an hour, so I'm going to extend the time for this till 10 a.m. If upon reflection I decided to make this an all-day event, I would simply click here. The time for the event would disappear, and it would be showing now as a full day appointment. Similarly, over here, if I wanted to be private, I could click there. I'll leave it still as a public appointment so others can be aware that it is occurring. The location is going to be in our boardroom, so I simply select that there. And I already have an alarm lead time and a reminder lead time in place, so at this point I could go ahead and click Save, but Maximizer will remind me of something. Specifically, the subject cannot be empty. So now what I have to do is make sure up at the top here I've identified the subject. We'll keep it simple and just say that we need to discuss a contract. At this point, Maximizer would allow me to save this appointment, but there are still a few things over here and up here that I would like you to be familiar with. First of all, let's assume that there might be other people I would want to invite. I could click on Advanced, and if there was a user, for example Daniel Brown, I could click on his name and he'll be added to that list. I could also check for individuals and contacts, and let's type in Bayville and do a search. And there's Darren. I want him included as well. I'll select him. I'll keep both of those by pressing Save, and they both show up over here. If I wanted to change the scheduled time for this appointment, I could click on Scheduling, and instead of running it from 9 to 10, I could run from 10 to 11 and click Schedule the event. And the change has been made for me. If I wanted to expand on the subject matter for the appointment, I could do that down here by writing a more complete description. On this bottom row of icons, if I click on the one that says Attendees, I simply shrink back the size of the appointment dialog box. I press it again to once again be able to see everybody who's being invited. Clicking on this icon here for the organizer allows me to change the organizer. Instead of it being me, Lou Jones, I could click one of the other people. For example, perhaps this appointment really needs to be done for Daniel Brown, who is out of the office right now. I can click on him. He is now identified as the organizer for an appointment that was created by me, Lou Jones, and you'll notice that the color of this appointment changed to Daniel Brown's color. We'll take a look at that when we move over into the calendar module itself. If this appointment needs to be a recurring appointment, I can click on the repeat icon and make my choice as to how frequently this appointment will occur. Let's assume it's going to be daily, and let's assume it's going to be for this week and end on the 21st, and then I can go ahead and click Save. and now that appointment is in place. If we find subsequently that's not necessary, I can simply click on the X to remove the repeat characteristic of this appointment. The alarm bell here allows me to change the alarm lead time and reminder time if I choose to. When I click on the resources icon, I have the opportunity to select any kind of resources that I feel might be necessary. For example, marketing collateral. Clicking on priority allows me to assign a priority to this appointment of high, low, or medium. I can further click on products and services or categories to add further elements of interest to this particular appointment. Now I'll click Save. I'll decide not to send a notice this time and click OK. And now we can move over to the calendar module and take a look at this appointment right here. When I hover on it, I get to see the particulars of the appointment. If I need to change anything, I can click Edit, which brings up the dialog box that we previously worked in. Since I'm not making any changes, I can click the X up above here, I could click Save, or I could click Cancel. Now let's suppose we want to create another appointment on the same day of the 19th of October. I will double click where I think it should be. I'm going to make my time here from 10:30 until 11:30, and I'm going to click on this button to expand my dialog box so I can start to invite other attendees. I'll put in Joe Napoli, and I'll also put in Daniel Brown, and once again I think I'll put in Melanie Chan, and there we go. And I'll enter in a subject for this, which is discuss future plans. Obviously Melanie doesn't need to be part of that, but the other two gentlemen need to be. And look at what happens this time when I click Scheduling. Maximizer alerts me to the fact that there is a conflict. When I click on People, I find that Daniel Brown has a conflict because he has a review contract meeting from 10 till 11. I resolve this conflict by clicking here, Resolve. I'm given a number of other choices of available times. Let's take 11 till 12, schedule the event. It's been changed. When I go back and double check, there are no conflicts. So now I'll go ahead and click Save. I won't worry about sending a notice. I'll just click OK, and that appointment is now in place exactly where I want it. Let's make a change to this appointment. Let's double click to bring up the dialog box that we've worked with before. I'm going to convert this to an all-day event, and I'm going to have it span 2 days instead of just the one. I'll go ahead and click Save, and I'll forget about the notice, but now what I get is an indication of conflicts. For example, I have a personal conflict because there's a meeting from 12:30 to 1 that I should be attending on the 19th, so I'm going to skip that one. And in terms of people attending, Daniel does have that review contract meeting with a client. I'll let him be excused from our all-day meeting while he takes care of that, and I'll go ahead and schedule the events. Because if I click on here to resolve this conflict, I'm told there's no free time, so I'll go ahead and schedule the event anyway. You'll notice that an all-day event is indicated by a bar at the top of the calendar. When I hover, I can see the particulars. You'll notice this red line that goes across the page, which identifies the actual time that I'm doing this on Monday the 17th of October. You'll see a strikeout on Reach Out here, and when I click on that appointment and go to Edit, the reason it's a strikeout is because it's already been marked as complete. You will also notice that I'm viewing this calendar as Lou Jones. Now let's suppose I switch over to Daniel Brown. I am now looking at the calendar as if I actually was Daniel Brown. Let's make an appointment as Daniel Brown. I'll right-click here on Tuesday and click Add an Appointment. We'll make the subject of this simply just Test, and I'll keep it from 11:30 till 12. I want to convert this into a repeat appointment. So I'm going to click this little repeat arrow. I'm going to say it starts on the 18th. I'll have this end a couple of months later on the 18th as well, and I'll make this a weekly appointment. Starts on 10/18, ends on 2/18/2017. Weekly, every Tuesday, ends at that date, and I'll click Save. And I'll click Save over here. That appointment is now in place. If I switch to the month view, I can see that that test appointment is there in October. I can see it goes into the next week there as well. Let's switch over to November. I can see it as a weekly occurrence there. We go into December. It's a weekly occurrence there, and so on and so forth. Now let's suppose when I get to here, the 13th of December, I decide I want to delete that appointment. Maximizer gives me some options. I can delete this occurrence only. I can delete the entire series, but still keep past appointments. If I click delete, all future ones are gone, including the day that I was on, but all the previous ones are still there. Let's go back to October. Click on the week of the 17th and the week view. There are two other views that I would like to show you. The first is the availability view. When I click on that, this gives me a sense of where I have space that I could be booking additional appointments. You will notice that my pink color is all the way through the Wednesday and Thursday. I have no availability there, but I could be booking things on Friday or on Tuesday. The next view I want to look at is the agenda view. This gives me a 7-day rolling view. It shows me the day that something is booked, it shows me when it is, and it shows me what the particulars of that event or appointment are. If I click on the title of any appointment, I end up with the dialog box where I made the appointment, and Maximizer is assuming that I might want to make a modification to it. Over here on the right, you will have noticed that I've had check marks against Lou Jones, myself, Daniel Brown, and Joe Napoli. I've also had check marks against the various locations and resources that are available. If I wanted to make any changes in these, I would click on Edit List, and let's take myself, Lou Jones, and let's change my color. And let's make my color this green. I'll click OK. I'll click OK. And everything that was pink now turns out to be green. I can also minimize that list, and switch over here and click on Settings down at the bottom here, which then allows me to modify my appointment lead times and so on. I can also come down and go to my display options, choose when I want to start my workday from 9 to 5, or maybe that's going to be 8 to 5. I can choose my working days. I can also slip over here to tasks, and I can see my task and include enter new tasks, the same as if I was working over in my hot list module or in my activities tab in any entry of the database. The last thing I'm going to show you is the reporting capability Maximizer has for the calendar module. I'm going to click on the agenda view, and then I'm going to click here under report for calendar view. Click save. Once it's done it, it gives me the option to open it, and there's my agenda view, which I can now forward on. I'll click out of this, and I'll come down this time to the appointment summary view. I'll click out of it, and I'll take a final look at the appointment details, which I can send to my printer. So there you have it, folks. Whether you're working in your customer service module, opportunities, address book, or calendar, you can set, keep, modify, delete appointments as necessary to ensure that your time is productive. Have a great and productive day, and bye for now.